webinar today on the Super Ratings research in iRate. My name's Hannah Bevan. I'm the Client Services and Product Manager, and I'm joined by Kirby Rappell, our Executive Director of SuperRatings. The purpose of today's webinar is about 30 minutes long, and we're going to start with an overview from Kirby just on what two SuperRatings are and their research and ratings process for the superannuation products. This will be followed by an online demonstration from myself in iRate of how you can access that research and run the comparison reports. And then we'll also have time at the end of today's session for any questions that you may have. Just before we begin, just some quick housekeeping. If you have questions, you are welcome to post them as we work through the webinar. You have a panel on your screen that allows you to do that. So just post those questions through, and we will direct and look at them as and use those at the end of the session today. So please feel free to post a question at any time. If you have any problems hearing us or viewing the screen, please do let us know and we will look at that. Otherwise, I will hand over to Kirby, who will give you the overall introduction to SuperRatings.
Thanks, Hannah, and thank you everyone for taking the time to join us this morning. My name is Kirby Rappell. I'm the Executive Director of SuperRatings, and on our agenda today, we're going to be talking about who is SuperRatings, what do the ratings and road signs mean, information about our research process, and then we'll move into an iRate demonstration to show you how to get the most out of super fund research in iRate. So a little bit about SuperRatings. So for me personally, I've been with SuperRatings for just over 10 years. SuperRatings and Lonsec came together in 2011, and we're working very hard to ensure we bring a broader suite of solutions to advisors to help them adapt and get ahead of a very rapidly changing market. SuperRatings has been rating superannuation providers since 2002, and we're just wrapping up our 16th annual review of superannuation funds. In terms of our team that you may or may not be aware of, we're co-located in Sydney with the whole of the Lonsec team, obviously Lonsec Research down in Melbourne as well. Within SuperRatings, we have a dedicated research team of 12 staff. This includes both research analysts as well as research administrators who are each assigned with a portfolio of superannuation funds and products and investment options that they are responsible for researching and rating. How do we get all the data? So we do have quite a lot of data that you'll be able to see through super fund research, but the team is tasked with at least fortnightly reviewing a super fund's website. Whenever we do that, we're looking for new PDF documents, new information booklets about investments, fees, insurance. We look at all of their annual reports and the financial statements of providers. The team administrators will enter all of that data into our platform, and that's then reviewed and signed off by research analysts, so a robust process there. To give you an idea, there was 2,493 disclosure documents reviewed by the research team in the 2017-2018 financial year, and we want to make sure we've got the broadest data as quickly as possible through to you. In addition to this, for the ratings process, and we'll talk about this a little bit later for some of the key assessment areas, we have over 90 main providers, all mainstream providers, that fill out a 1,600 question survey annually. The information from this survey is the information we can't get from PDSs, so understanding their administrative capabilities, their advisor servicing capabilities, and their investment process capabilities. We review all the responses from those surveys each year and have had very good patronage of that survey. However, I think it's fair to say in a rapidly changing market that we need to spend more time meeting with providers. So since the end of the superannuation round of the Royal Commission, we have now met with over 60 funds face-to-face and are meeting with providers face-to-face at least annually. During our review meeting, which is usually a couple of hours, we are understanding their business strategy, the key product enhancements that they're looking to bring to market, verifying the answers through their surveys, and assessing their overall capabilities relative to those in the market. We also conduct review meetings with people with key administrators to see their capabilities and offerings to make sure that it is true to label and providing the best advisor and client outcomes. So, based on all that information, we run that through ratings and review models, which are discussed by the ratings team, which then come up with the overall outcomes. And something interesting to note within SuperRatings is we are actually constrained in the number of each ratings outcome we can provide. So what that means is that for the 444 or so accumulation products we currently have ratings on, we can only award a quarter of them our platinum rating. A further quarter can receive our gold rating, the next quarter can receive our silver rating, and the last quarter receive our other rating. This means that it allows us to ensure that not everyone can just look the same, and it does make it hopefully more meaningful when you're reviewing products to make sure that you're getting high quality, well-aligned products for your clients. The definition of each of the ratings is included on these slide charts, and it's all around value for money. We're assessing over 300 components of a fund's overall offering through the ratings, and at the end of it, it comes up to a platinum, gold, silver, or other rating. On the snapshot reports that you'll see in a little while, there may be an extra logo. If a provider has had a platinum rating continuously for 5, 7, 10, or 15 years, we do denote that to help you show consistency of ratings outcome over time. So what do we look at when we do a ratings assessment? It is a relatively broad-based value for money review, and we look through quite a number of different areas, and I would emphasise that SuperRatings is focused more on the product level rather than the individual investment option level, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. For investments, we look at a fund's performance, both on an absolute basis and as a Sharpe ratio, to assess performance between different providers. We look at the underlying investment process. When we do that, it's probably more from the product level. So we look at the investment committee structure, the internal investment team capability, and the risk management within the provider to ensure that they can withstand market changes and make sure they're well positioned for the future. Overall, performance is worth around 12.5% of the overall rating, and secondly, process is worth around the same. The second area we look at is fees and charges. Obviously, it's a very changing area and a rather challenging area for advisors following the introduction of RG97. SuperRatings reviewed 800 PDSs in the first 3 weeks of RG97 coming into force and released new fee road signs and ratings to benchmark all of our fees and costs to ensure that it's in a way that reflects the RG97 landscape. We look at a number of different account balances that reflect each of the user demographics. So for the My SuperRatings, we look at $5, $50, and $100,000, and for a member that's exercising member choice, we look at higher account balances of $50, $250, and $500,000. The second thing we look at is the fee equity within a provider. What we're doing there is that you might find some funds that may have what appear to be low fees, but if they've got a very low average account balance, it may be not well aligned with the membership base. So we do look at the fees and the average account balance for the provider, and we also look at things like buy-sell margins to look at their competitiveness, and finally operating expenses, given the fact that while fees and charges are what they are today, they may or may not be sustainable for the future. Next, we look at administration. We're looking at the capabilities of the fund's underlying administration platform. How efficient and effective is it? For a lot of providers, this remains a work in progress, and we do think there is significant need for many funds to improve the way in which they are able to service advisors, and a lot of range in this part. For the new research offering, we've included advisor servicing as a key area that we're examining through our research. Then we look at the ability of the fund to provide support to advisors and to clients around member education and their ability in that space. We expect to see a lot of change in this area and hopefully better embrace of external financial planning as funds look to deliver more advice to more of their members. Within governance, we examine trustee structures, processes and risk management. The key areas that are quite interesting here for us is around the quality of the disclosure back through to members as well as advisors and other key stakeholders, and which funds are being progressive in that area. Secondly, the level of independence on boards. SuperRatings' house position is there should be preferably a third independent directors on boards, and finally examining related party structures that exist within providers. We do look at insurance. Within insurance, we look at quantitative aspects around the competitiveness of male, female rates, blue collar, white collar rates at individual ages. We do look at terms and conditions assessment, And finally, we calculate sustainability of premiums through both the payout ratios, so are funds delivering insurance benefits to those clients who deserve them, and secondly, are there sustainable insurance offerings given they are reviewed frequently. And the qualitative overlay is the final key area. Through that, we're examining through each review meeting, what did a provider tell us 12 months ago about what they were going to be doing to enhance their value for money? Did they deliver it? Do they have a plan for the next 12 months? And is that plan credible? So from that side, that's a key focus through everything we do to pull that together. So that probably gives you a bit of a feeling about the process. So I think probably the key focus for today is potentially more focused on what does this mean for me when I'm using iRate. So I just want to step you through how we would envisage most people would want to interpret the ratings outcomes. So there's pretty much three key levels that you'll be looking at for looking at ratings outcomes. Firstly, what is the overall product rating? So there are four options there of platinum, gold, silver, or other, and that shows you whether they fit in the top quartile, second quartile, third quartile, or fourth quartile overall. Secondly, for each of the key assessment areas of investments, fees and charges, insurance cover and costs, member servicing, administration, and governance, what we're examining there is, firstly, at that key level, what is the provider's road sign? That has been simply modelled based on road signs and how quickly a fund is going in a certain area. 110 represents top quartile, 80 represents second quartile, 60 represents third quartile, and 40 represents bottom quartile. So that gives you an idea overall of where that product sits relative to all those in the market. Thirdly, when we look at the sub-ratings within a section, so if we take, for example, investments, we will have a quartile-based assessment again for performance, for the variety of options being offered by a provider, and thirdly, their process at the trustee and oversight level. So within that, you will find four ratings: excellent, good, average, and below average, again representing each quartile. What we find for advisors is that there may be certain criteria they want to look at, perhaps maybe gold and platinum products as a key determinant of overall value. Or secondly, they may be looking at comparing key features. So for example, what is the quality of the administration, given that there's more flexibility required for many advice clients, and what is the quality the provider can offer? Secondly, if your members or clients are more engaged, they may need a wider variety of options than they could receive otherwise. So in terms of trying to share internally the things we look at and where we end up at, and you'll see this when Hannah demonstrates the comparison report later, we end up with a spider chart. And what this shows us is where does a provider sit and how are they performing over time on each of those key assessment areas. The score from 0 to 100 is their percentile ranking across the whole of the universe, and it is broken down by each of the underlying key assessment areas. So that's the way we visualise internally and are looking to try and bring that to the advisor market. Finally, on each snapshot report, on the bottom of page 2, there is hopefully clear delineation of what each of those road signs means, so it enables a clearer client conversation. Through all of that, it then shows what does each of the road signs and the underlying sub-assessment area outcomes look like. And finally, if there's an alert or a concern there, it's driven by a couple of things. Either a provider is not able to provide sufficient data or not willing to do so, they will be penalised there, but we have ongoing engagement there and wish to have the broadest range of research available to you. Or concern. If there's a material issue with a provider, we may pull ratings and replace that with concern. So overall, the universe we are looking at is over 100 MySuper products. All mainstream MySuper products are covered. Around 330 member choice products are considered. And finally, around 189 pension offerings are being considered. We continue to be working to build out that capability as new products come to market and working with those providers. There can be a bit of a lag to collect all the data and get the engagement from the provider, but it's something we continue to be working on and appreciate your feedback over time. The final piece to note with you is just obviously around the business model. So within the Lonsec Group, we are focused on making sure that we hold ourselves to be compliant with RG 79. and we are focused on making sure that we are clear and transparent about our revenue model. SuperRatings will undertake reviews of all super funds, irrespective of whether or not they pay for a ratings logo. And secondly, a fund is not required to take a logo or to subscribe to any of SuperRatings products or services in order to be rated. There is differing levels of engagement from providers. It has improved markedly over the past 10 years, and we will continue to be working to make this the best it possibly can be. But just want to be transparent in that area with you to make sure it is giving you the confidence that you require. So overall, we are hoping to make sure that the ratings are well aligned with your members' and clients' best interests so that you can have meaningful performance comparisons and product replacement conversations that are well aligned with requirements of today and the future and achieving better outcomes for your clients. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kirby. I hope everyone has found that useful, got a better understanding of the SuperRatings process there and its ratings. We'll now move into the online demonstration within iRate, just showing you how you can access that research and use that then in your advice to your recommendations to your clients. So if we just go into iRate, hopefully most of you by now have started your own trial of super fund research, so you'll find it on the new menu here at the end of the menu, so under new. You'll just come into super funds, you can click in on any of these tabs. If you haven't started your trial, you are able to do so. You'll have a screen that will allow you just to come in and click self-start your trial here, and you'll automatically then be taken to this research page. So as Kirby mentioned, so SuperRatings research over 600 products, and they're all within this page here with their investment options as well, so 6,000 in total. In terms of searching, there are different ways you can do this. You can use just by name, and with the searching by name, you actually do need to just add in the product name. It's not a keyword search on any item within this. So you can see if one you're interested in, you can just select it from the drop-down option, or to say, for example, you want to see all the REST products, you can just enter REST and then hit search, and that will search the universe for you. You can see I've got 54 different results within that space. Other ways of looking at this information is you can use keywords, or you can just come through and use the different search filter options. So say, for example, today I was interested in looking at products within the My Super area, and you can search on the different ratings, or you can search all of them. Excuse me. You can do by fund type as well, so if you're interested in industry, corporate, or government, for example, or you can keep it a wide search, and find the option type as well. So you can search all of them, or if you know you had a client that's just interested in the balance, you can select that within here. Search results by default will come back by product name in ascending order, but again, you can change those as well. So perhaps you want to look at them by rating or by option type, you can do that and select ascending or descending order, and you click search. So these searching criteria and the results, how they're displayed, very similar to what you're used to within the fund research and equities area, so there's no real changes there for you when it comes to searching for your products. So you've got your results here, 91 products that within that criteria. Next to each one, we have the two-page snapshot reports, which Kirby referred to earlier. So they start with the SuperRatings product assessment. You can see the overall ratings you've got there. Just pick another one, sorry. Here we go. So we've got the overall platinum rating. Then you've got the individual criteria with the road signs for each of the 6 key assessment areas, and then the underlying rating as well on the key sub-criteria. SuperRatings view on the product, what we say, so that's our view from having met with them and done the whole research process. And then we move down into the investment option assessment, so you can see the typical fees. You've got the performance, strategic asset allocation data, all updated on a monthly basis. That data comes through as well, so you've got actions to that, and you can see the dates again on the side of the report, similar to you do with the fund profiles in the fund research area. The average insurance cover per dollar per week for each of the different, for each criteria within there, and then those SuperRatings product assessments available. So a simple 2-page snapshot report.
And we just add in one more thing there. At the bottom of the page, on page 1, you'll see fees and charges. What we've actually enhanced in our reports for this module is we have benchmarked the fees and charges for that specific investment option. So you can see that for BusQ in this example, fees and charges on those account balances all sit in the second quartile, and the performance fees are assessed at the option level, which complements the product rating level that we've done previously.
Thanks, Kirby. So that statement, so this two-page snapshot, ideal for using with your clients in statements of advice. Back to the search results screen, you would search for your products very similar as you would do before. You're clicking on them, you move into your selected area, and then you can start to look in detail at each of the different areas. So product summary, you can see the individual assessment ratings, you get performance, 5-year performance returns, option sizes as well. Your performance, you can look at again. All sortable as you see in the rest of the site, you can click on them, change the sort order of the results. You can see highest to lowest in any key criteria. Your asset allocation, generally it's strategic asset allocation. When we have tactical, we will make that available, and you'll be able to tell by the allocation type here or on the report. All the different fees, so administration fee, investment fees, all available for you there. And then finally, under documents, you can also access the PDF's annual reports as well. So these are all the reports which SuperRatings are collecting on a regular basis and maintaining within the database here for you. So that shows you how you can access them. Download. You can download the snapshot reports. You've got those snapshot reports you can download individually or as a grouped report together. And then when you're on the different tabs, like performance, again, you can export the data into Excel or Word or print it out. The full functionality within that space to use here. From here, once you've got your products selected, you may want to create a comparison just showing a client your recommendations of which products you feel are better suited for them. And you can do that from Create Comparison here, or you could come through into Superfund Comparison. But if you have the product selected, it's quite simple to go to Create Comparison, and it will take us through to the comparison page. Now, the comparison page allows you to compare up to 3 options against each other. It compares options within the same option type and product universe. So within that, you are going to be looking at like-for-like products. And this is the page we come to now. You can see the 3 I had selected in fund research are already populated for me. Or I could just come through and I can search for them in this space, which I'll show you in a moment. But at the top of the page, we have our comparison inputs. So these inputs you enter enable the fee insurance comparison data to be filtered in our reports based on these criteria. So you'll be able to see the actual insurance contributions and information that comes through to your clients. You simply just need to enter the age of your clients, their gender, male or female, and occupation, simply whether it's a white collar, blue collar worker. Those first 3 fields are compulsory. The next 3, sum insured, salary and account balance, it's up to you if you want to enter that information in or not, or just 1 or 2 of those criteria, as I have done here. You can see the system's now just calculating all those insurance calculations for us in the background for our review in a moment. We'll just bear with it while it has a little think.
So if you're doing the account balance, that one's used to calculate fee benchmarks based on that account balance. So hopefully it helps to tailor the outcome back to your client.
There we go. So I've got the results here now, so you can see I've got the overall ratings and information here. Still thinking a little bit, sorry. What we can also do, which I'll show you in a moment, is you can change the order the 3 items are shown within here as well. Also, you don't have to select 3, you can just compare 2 products however you want to. If you wanted to change the order, you just simply click on that little cross sign and just drag it to where you want it to be within that space, and you can do that. And also on the drop-down menu, just on the arrow there, you can delete a product. So say you no longer want to use the rest of my super in your comparison, for example, I simply delete it, and I can go back up here to add new option and search for products. So by default, the list of products that I'm showing here is already being filtered to them on the same option type within the same product universe. So I can just come down and pick a product myself or type in the name as I want to through here. We'll just recalculate that for me. And there's the items there. So I can click on each one and just see the end of, again, the sub-ratings for each assessment criteria. Or I can then come across my tabs here and start looking at them in more detail. So I've got the actual investment, I've got the performance asset allocation for each one. insurance, for example. So this again is calculated $1 per week based on age and next birthday. So that's the 41, gender's male, and a white collar worker. So that's already been filtered for you based on those inputs we provided earlier. All of this is available to you on the screen just to review quickly, and those 6 criteria, or we can just come to the generate comparison report, which will then provide a nice report that you can sit and talk through with your client and go through in a few more charts on that insurance side as well. So we'll just download this report. Here. This is the report you get. Comes through, so beginning your profile, that's the inputs you provided at the beginning, the date the report was prepared and issued. This is the spider chart that Kirby was talking to earlier, so you can see Equipped Super for its insurance has received the highest rating score there, and so Australia My Super on the governance has scored highly as well, which reflects the road signs you're looking at in this space here, down here. So it's a pictorial way of just looking at those ratings, and you've got the summary as well. The report then goes into looking at each of those 6 assessment criteria. So you've got the investment, the performance, the strategic asset allocation breakdown for each of the options we selected, your fees and charges, also showing you that fee comparison based on the various account balances.
And the industry median on that chart will be for all products in that universe. So it gives you a meaningful way to be able to see, despite you might be looking through products, how do they sit against the whole of the industry.
And then we come into our insurance and costs, so you can see our insurance cover again. This has now, these results are looking at the profile inputs we entered, so it's male, blue collar, age 41, next birthday. So again, those results will be shown, those which apply to your client. Similarly with the income protection, you've got the different charts for the different cover periods. And then we go into the next criteria, member servicing, your administration, and your governance. And then final page just gives you a bit of background. So this is SuperRatings' view on the actual product from their actual meetings with them. They come in an overall summary of the rating and their view on them. And then the last page just gives you a bit more info on the methodology of SuperRatings and those ratings as well, going through what those benchmarks, signs and everything, growth signs mean. So simple report, gives all the information, easy to use format that you can run through with your client, again, adds into those statements for advice, product recommendations. That shows you the 2 key areas within here. If you wanted more information on the methodology, as Kirby ran through, that's all available under research methodology, and run through it for each of the different product profiles for My Super, Member Choice and Pension, slightly different criteria, so they're just explained to you within that process. The next area of practice questions people may have is, how does this SuperRatings research complement or be used with Lonsec research? So obviously Lonsec research also does do coverage on superannuation products. So say we come to the fund research page, you can filter under investment structure superannuation, and you see there's currently 81 products. So the main difference here, just be aware, is that the ratings are complementary, and the idea is to provide the ability for you to understand the appropriateness of the product from the SuperRatings side, as well as the Lonsec view on the options to check they're meeting your investment objectives as well. So the Lonsec research is looking at it at a product level, at the option level, sorry, and it very much is investment focused. So if we were to look at 2 profiles, say we're going to look at the CBUS product that I brought up earlier, CBUS Industry Growth by Lonsec Research for its actual option recommended rating. And they're going through looking at it from what the investment perspective is, how the investment team perform, what their view is, product risk characteristics. So it's very much complementary to the SuperRatings snapshot report and the information they also provide, which is giving you the overview on the overall option, and then also the product as well. So complementary research to be used together there, looking at it from 2 angles to help form an informed opinion on products that you're recommending. That's all I wanted to run through and show you today within the iRate website. I'm not sure if anyone has any further questions. We're open up to now for questions, and anything else that you may want to cover off.